Welcome to a pivotal moment in the world of broadcast as we proudly present the Men's Mental Health Show featuring the renowned Larry Mabry in collaboration with the Maassen Group. This essential exploration of men's mental health wouldn't be possible without the invaluable support of RainerAvenueRadio.world. Now, let's dive into this crucial conversation with Larry Mabry and the Maassen Group. Your mental well-being matters. Here's Larry Mabry.
Oh, wow. Hey, what's going on, guys? How are you? For those people that missed me last week, had a little situation, but we're back. So wanted to say welcome to the Men's Mental Health here at Rainer Avenue Radio. Just getting through a little cold, feeling a little bit better today. So today we have the 22nd of December, 2025. And for this episode, I wanted to talk, as we roll into holidays, we always have our Christmas list. We always, as men, we go out, we make sure we have the mistletoe, we make sure we have the tree taken care of. We gather all the gifts for family members, loved ones, things of that nature. Maybe spend some quality time with family and friends and that. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about, the New Year's resolution that we kind of work on here for men's mental health, right? Wanted to kind of talk about that and just kind of tap in with you guys. Real quick, wanted to tap in, say you guys were feeling. Before we kind of go forward, I was just curious to see, what are you guys doing to kind of check in with yourself and make sure that you guys are connected with yourself, right? Really, really important. Sometimes, you might just need to take a deep breath, be in the moment. I had a few people ask me like, okay, so Larry, when you're stressed out, what do you do to kind of get centered? And believe it or not, we have the system within ourselves. When we get frustrated, you'll notice that you'll either go and just kind of sigh. That's kind of a response to kind of put you in the moment and kind of detach from that situation. But when you breathe in the moment and just kind of sit in that stillness, you'd be surprised how that just kind of helps kind of regulate, kind of reestablish, kind of get you back on point. So just want to say, hey, sometimes we got to take a deep breath, be in the moment. As I've been practicing that type of thing, I've noticed for myself, it's made a huge, huge difference. And it kind of gets you out of that mindset where, you're in fight or flight, right? If you just, right, just be in the moment. And sometimes you have to practice it because we naturally kind of go back to the fight or flight mode. But when we practice it and we kind of can get detached from that moment, we notice it sets us up for really good establishment and mentally, emotionally, and that type of thing. So anyway, let's talk about a couple things. So we talked about the New Year's men's mental health awareness list. Number one, first thing you want to do as we wrap into 2026, I know for me, this is the challenge is asking for help, right? We want to normalize asking for help. So sometimes you got to say, you know what? I need your help, right? I know for me, that's something I'm working towards as far as being more open to say, hey, you know what? Can I get a little help, right? I know sometimes we want to do things ourselves, right? We feel like, I'm weak if I don't ask for help, or, sometimes our pride can get in the way. So just ask for help, right? If you need support, it doesn't mean that you're weak. Strength includes knowing when you can't do it alone, right? I think that's important. But also, too, it allows you to have that communication piece. And then a lot of times you communicate to people they know. They may have other resources you didn't even consider, right? So ask for help. That's the first thing. Number two, redefine masculinity. What does that look like? Well, being a man includes emotional honesty, right? Being emotionally honest with yourself, right? If you're feeling some things, express it. Now, I want to say this. As we express that, it's important to make sure that you express it to somebody that is the safe zone. You guys can feel free to reach out to me on the Maassen Group 1@gmail.com. You can send a text, email. I think that's the wrong one. Yeah, the Maassen Group 1@gmail.com. But yeah, you feel free to reach out and ask, hey, Larry, I want some support. What are some suggestions you have? And I'll feel free to reach out to do what I can to support you. But being a man includes emotionally honesty, vulnerability, rest, care. It's not just for toughness, right? Making sure you take care of yourself, right? That could be weekly manicures or, weekly back rubs, right? Or if you go to the gym, making sure you do certain things for yourself, going for walks, um, listening to good music, eating good food, right? Making sure you balancing yourself, right? So that way you're not out of pocket. Number three, check in on your mental health, right? Just like you check in on your physical health. You can reach out to me, therapy, coaching, journaling, check-ins, maintenance. Doesn't have to be emergencies. Just say, hey, for the beginning part of the year, these are some goals. Maybe connect with someone like myself to kind of help you have some accountability for those goals. I think that's important. Address number four, address the silent stressors. That's important as we roll into the new year. It could be finances. Maybe you're a new father. Maybe you're a new grandfather, right? Maybe you're a new uncle. Different relationships, racism, right? Work pressure. Maybe you lost a job. Maybe you need another job. Maybe you need to reach out to somebody to help support you with a transition. Maybe you having some erectile dysfunction, right? We're just keeping it 100 here, right? Being able to talk to somebody to support you. Sometimes expectations often go unspoken, but they matter, right? And so making sure you connect with somebody to help you through that. Number five, prioritize emotional literacy. What does that look like? Well, learn and name emotions beyond anger, shame, grief, fear, um, exhaustion, and hope, right? Joy as well. Um, think about that. So if you're feeling a certain kind of way, practice that. Like right now in this moment, I'm feeling pretty excited. I would say I'm healing right now. You can tell my voice is not 100%, but I wanted to be here because I missed you guys last week. But being able to communicate where you are in the moment, I think is important. But also having support with those areas that you need support with. So it could be anger, it could be silence, it could be grief, it could be fear. There's no judgment, but making sure that you prioritize those things within yourself and work towards getting through those things. Right. Number six, break the suffer and silence cycle. That's a big one for us as males. Um, I would say for me, um, it's very interesting because this field I work with, I'm around a lot of women, and I think research shows for every word a man says, a woman typically says 5,000 words more than that, which is crazy. However, sometimes that can be intimidating, right? Because men and women are different. And so, and I think the way that men process, right, we're more logical sometimes, and we can be silent because we may express something a little bit later. We may not want to express it in that moment, right, because of social norms and things of that nature. But I want you to break the silence cycle. I know for me, as I talk to my dad, like he's in the 70s and sometimes he gets caught up on that silent cycle. It's like we got to break that, right? um I want us to practice expressing ourselves, and so if we can't say it verbally, maybe write it down in a journal, right? Even if it's one thought, one expression, practice breaking that up. Connect with somebody to help work through that. Okay. Number seven, build safe spaces with other men. It could be myself, community. Make sure you connect with people. Why is that important? Well, that's important because if you practice being in the safe space, you practice being supported with expressing yourself, what's going to happen? It's going to build more confidence. You're going to feel more unified. You're going to notice things about yourself, right? And you're going to notice that, wow, other brothers are going through this too, right? How are they working through that, right? Sometimes you might just need a hug from a brother. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, man, I see you, right? Or they've endured some things that you're going through, depending on where the pattern of life is, right? So important. So make sure you build a safe space. I know for me, I'm in this really interesting situation where I'm taking care of my dad, right? But also I'm an uncle, so I got to kind of mentor and support my nephew. But also I have my own business, right? And so I'm a business owner, so I have to confer and connect with other business owners, right? But also I'm African American, so sometimes it's good to talk to other brothers. But also I'm not from this area, right? And so it's good to have different mentors to kind of help you navigate through those waters. Um, and there's a lot of things that you go through that sometimes it's good to have someone to connect with on those levels. Number eight, set mental boundaries. You're allowed to say no. You got to rest. Sometimes you got to unplug and protect your space, or your peace is very important. I would say the last two years, I've been really prioritizing my peace, right? Because sometimes you have people that live up in drama. They like chaos, right? They like to perpetuate chaos. Um, and I feel like what I noticed for myself is if you're inundated with a lot of chaos, what happens is it affects your nervous system negatively. A lot of cortisol, you got a lot of health challenges. It's important to practice honoring yourself and practice having peaceful situations, living in a space of peace, organizing things in your life, making sure you have peace. And then you'll notice that your lifestyle changes in a better way, right? You increase your life force, you have more vitality, more excitement for life. You actually free up some emotional things in your life, and you have more what I like to call mental bandwidth to kind of deal with life and handle stuff and create some stuff too, creative energy to create some things in your life, right? Okay, number 9, challenge the generational trauma, right? So healing yourself helps heal your children, helps heal your partners, it helps heal the community. And we as men typically one of the things that we want to leave is a legacy, right? How do we leave a legacy? Well, we got to heal ourselves, right? Either we're going to perpetuate the things that we've experienced, or we're going to create something different and fresh, right? And so as you heal yourself, what you do is basically by doing that is you create a whole different narrative for your bloodline, for your nephews, for your nieces, for your sons, other male figures in the family, as they see you experience the healing, then you create a totally different narrative moving forward. Also for your partners in the community, okay, or children. Really, really important. Number 10, this is something that I feel like is totally like appropriate during this time too, is you want to address the burnout early. And so some people may have some time off right now as we get caught up for the holidays. Exhaustion isn't a badge or honor, so it's a warning sign. So it's important to kind of take a step back, right? If you don't have the ability to go to Fiji or Maui or take a vacation and leave the state and or go to a certain different area where maybe we have some sun or just relaxation, what I would suggest is basically take your technology, turn it off, unplug, you know, step back, maybe go to some movies, maybe do some things that you enjoy doing that brings you joy, some things that's going to kind of add more to your emotional bank. And sometimes you might just need to rest, right? Just rest, recalibrate, kind of focus on some things and say, you know what, this is what I notice that I need to do for myself to make sure that I don't continually have this burnout. And then just nurture yourself, right? Nurture yourself. Okay. Really, really important. And I would suggest as you do that, make sure you sit down and maybe have certain points in your week or certain points in the month where you say, you know what, I'm going to have self care, right? It may be going to a place and you're just jumping around, right? Or skating rink, a movie, going for a walk, doing something. What I've been doing lately, I'll share something with you guys. Every time I go shopping, what I try to do is if I'm going, I like to go to Costco. I try to get something new, right? I try to explore my experiences and get something new, right? Okay. Now, another thing too, during this time of year too, sometimes, as we transition to the new year, we start thinking about, okay, how was my year overall? We want to acknowledge number 11, acknowledge grief and loss. So we acknowledge it. Men, we grieve deeply. So even though we do this, sometimes we don't really show it. And so I think it's important to acknowledge it, right? And I know for myself, for those people that's been tapped in, I acknowledge it, but I also would add one caveat, like if you had a loss, like loved one, or you had somebody that you cared about that's no longer here, definitely, work through the grief if you need to. And there's quite a few things that you need for that. But I would say one thing I would suggest is think about like what's the one thing that that person kind of gave to you that you can kind of move forward, right? And so with that note, like for me, the biggest thing that my stepdad, I think, gave to me that I'm bringing forward is his peace, right? He always was a man that lived in peace. And he created a very awesome order in the house. We're realizing that now that he's no longer there. But what I realized was he protected the house. He didn't tolerate any BS. He created peace. With all his transactions, he wanted to make sure things were peaceful. He lived in a place of love too, right? And so I think it's important to try to connect as you're going through the grief. Think about, okay, what is something loving that can move forward? And what is one thing that I can take from that person that, if I'm going through a griefful situation as you go through your experiences. Okay, number 12, choose healthy coping tools. Really, really important, especially as we move into 2026. A lot of times, and it's normal, right? We're going through stressful situations. Replace the numbing behaviors with movement, right? Maybe going for a walk. I think it's allowing your opportunity for your body to kind of move that energy, maybe process, maybe set the timer as you're walking. The cool thing about it is you're allowing your mind to kind of think about some different things. You could rewire your neurotransmitters, but also you can kind of set in your mind different things that you want to express. But sometimes you might need to kind of get some stuff out, right? Yell, scream, or whatever as you're going for your walk. But as you come to the close of your walk, maybe bring it to a space, of peace, of love, of gratitude, the fact that you have your legs, the fact that you're able to do it, and then to kind of close it up with just some gratitude. Really, really important, right? That's going to be important. Therapy, connecting with myself, creativity, artwork, that's important. Music, prayer, conversation, talking to somebody who can kind of help you think on higher thoughts. I think that's important. Somebody who can challenge you with love. I think that's important as far as coping. And then think about, like, what are some, maybe take one different coping mechanism to help you through that challenge. I think is important. Breathing, I think, is really important. Deep breathing. Journaling is important. I know for me, self-care is vital, right? Doing something every day for yourself, and then a positive affirmation, something to that effect, I think is really, really important. Because what I've noticed is as you give to yourself, you have a lot more bandwidth to give to other people. So make sure you do that. Okay, number 13, understanding that anger is often a secondary emotion. Anger often hides fear, sadness, pain. So listen to what's underneath, right? So sometimes, you're angry, but maybe it's because you're sad, right? Because sometimes during the holidays, it could be very triggering for people because they've lost loved ones, or maybe they're estranged from certain loved ones, right? And that could be hard, right? And so connect with some people. If you're noticing, okay, if you're angry or you're sad, honor that, and work through that. Again, you can reach out to us here in the Maassen Group 1 at gmail.com. We can be cool to reach out to you and support you with that. But it's like sometimes you have to work through that, right? So that you don't really put that on other people. Okay. So making sure you practice working through that. If you reach out with myself and other professionals, we'll be free to help you through that. Okay. Number 14, support men of color and marginalized men. So mental health is impacted hugely with systematic stress, with racism, inequality. Awareness must include the context. So I think it's important to make sure that you support all men, right? I think that's important, but also to support other brothers, right? What does that look like? Well, here in Seattle, there's a lot of brothers here who are business owners. I know me personally. There's certain businesses that I like to frequent. As I learn of other businesses, I like to support them. Here in this building, we have African American male here own this business or whatever. Make sure you support, right? Do what you can to support. Maybe just give a phone call. Hey, I was just thinking about you, just checking in for the holidays. I think that's important. I think a lot of times I've noticed just with me, usually if I get a call, it's usually they're asking me to do something, right? It's not like, Hey, Larry, how are you? I was just thinking about you, right? Lately, I've been getting more of those calls, but I would say in the past, and I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of you brothers have had this experience. Usually, you get the call because somebody needs something from you, right? But what I would suggest for you is think about maybe write down 10 brothers' names, reach out to them, right? Just say, hey, brother, I was just thinking about you. You know what I'm saying? I was just tapping in, just checking in, right? You don't know what that brother's going through. You don't know how much that could just be so supportive in that situation, right? And so reach out. Also, number 15, make mental health part of your goals. So as we roll into 2026, what are you doing for your mental health, right? Are you journaling every day? Are you going for walks every day? Are you going to the gym every day? If you're stressed out, how are you supporting that? Are you just letting it go, right? It's important that you're tackling it every single day, right? Whatever you prioritize, whatever you put energy in, guess what? It grows. And so as you put in a lot of love and support to your mental health, let me tell you some of the benefits because people may not realize the benefits. The one thing that's going to happen is if you put in a lot of love and support in your mental health, the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to become emotionally strong. You might say, well, why is that important? Well, let me share with you why that's important. How many people do you know, right, have had challenges in the past week? Okay. Just last week, I had an issue with my vehicle, right? I would say with the issue that I had with my vehicle could probably, some people may not have had the mental bandwidth to deal with it. Was driving down the road, hit a pothole, lo and behold, my whole axle, boom, boom, okay? Or I would say my shock, okay? Very traumatic, right? I just handled it, pulled over, had to get another vehicle, blah, 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 whatever. But my point is, as you put in a lot of self-love, a lot of support to your mental health, life is gonna life, right? But as you are strong emotionally and mentally, what ends up happening is you're able to weather the storm, right? As we look out here and we see the rain, you're able to weather it because you've been strengthening up your mental attitude, your mental fortitude, your mental resiliency. So it's important to make sure that you support that. Okay, number 16, check on the strong one. It goes back to what I said before. Think about like that one brother that like he does everything, right? Reach out to him first. The men who hold everyone else together often need support the most. And I was just talking to a friend of mine, Daniel, about that. Like my stepdad passed away, and we're realizing how strong he was and like what he was carrying. And I thought to myself, man, most of the time I called him to help me resolve a problem. I never really called him. I would say later on, yes, I did, but early on, like I only really called him with problems for him to help me through, right? And so as I'm handling things for myself and my stepdad or my real dad, it's getting me to think like, hey, when can I just reach out and just say, hey, man, I'm just thinking about you. What can I do to support you? Really, really important. Number 17, end the shame around therapy. Ding, 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 ding. Really, really important. Therapy is just a tool, it's not failure, right? And so, for those people that are concerned about it, when you reach out, we're just two brothers having a conversation. That's it, right? Um, and it's always good to, a lot of my clients say, I'm like an uncle, right? Not as fly as that AI uncle that I've seen on there, but I would say, I just keep it a buck, just keep it real with you, support you, do what I can to help you understand. There's never any judgment. See where you're at, support you where you're at. Give you certain skill sets and that type of thing so you can work through that. But why is it a big deal to reach out and talk to somebody to help you through it, right? If I got a challenge in my car, guess what? I take it to the mechanic. If I got a legal issue, guess what? I go to a lawyer, right? If I need a song, a jam, a hit, Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, a songwriter. But why is it when I have some challenges dealing with kind of what I got going on in life, I feel like that's a struggle, right? Why is that? And so I want us to revisit that and think about that differently. So feel free to just reach out and just say, hey, man, I just want to just holler at you and see what's up. You'd be surprised at what we can do to support you. Okay, number 18, encourage emotional expression in boys. teach our boys early that feelings are human and not weaknesses, right? And so how I would do that is if a person's feeling something, your young man, your young son, express it. If you need to cry, cry. Say, man, I got you. Sometimes you might just need to give the brother a hug. That's cool too, right? It's okay, right? Sometimes we could just be you and the brother just in silence. That's important, okay? But practice showing emotional support through your action, right? Number 19, rest without guilt. Rest is productive. Recovery is necessary. Okay, so it's okay to rest and don't feel guilty because you got to rest, right? Um, Even God had to rest on the seventh day, so it's important to rest and don't feel guilty about it. Okay, and then the number 20, commit to healing, not just hustling. That's a big one I'm working on. Oh, I would say I pretty much mastered that because I feel like coming from the D, a lot of times it's like we came from that whole hustle culture, right? We got to hustling, that song, every day I'm hustling, every day I'm hustling, that type of thing. And so success without mental health isn't success. So it's really important to just commit to healing and then not just hustling. And so sometimes you got to take a step back, focus on one thing. It could be anger management. It could be not expressing yourself. It could be a number of things. So just take your time, focus on one thing, and then hopefully that should help you. All right. Okay, guys. So real quick, make sure you guys help support us make better shows. So you want to donate now on Venmo at Rainier Avenue Radio, or you can go to rainieravenueradio.world/donate. And also too, make sure you guys show some love for the next show that'll be coming on. That's Better Together and Living Powerfully with Dr. Tracy Harrell. So make sure you guys show some love to her. I want to thank you guys for spending some time with me on this beautiful Monday, December 22nd. I want to wish you guys good holidays. If I don't see you guys for Christmas, hopefully this was very beneficial. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next week. And without further ado, peace.